fly fishing on the Volga.
For Black Friday this year I got myself a PS5, just like years ago when I bought myself a PS4 Pro with the Spider-Man game bundle. I originally wanted to buy the Pro version for the PS5 as well, but seeing how much that thing costs, I decided to instead get a PS5 with a disc drive and a PSVR 2, which I was very curious about and already regretted, to be honest. Seeing that, contrary to what I heard a while ago, there's hardly any of the games that have a free upgrade, and I have to buy upgrades, and I would have to buy upgrades for the games I already own, which are more expensive than the full games when I bought them for the PS4. No wonder that VR on PS5 is dying, which is a pity, even though the hardware seems to be pretty good. But this is not about VR or VR2, this is about me repeating patterns. Because just like with the PS4 Pro, back then my first game on the PS5 was Spider-Man once again. But this time Spider-Man Miles Morales. Here, fortunately, I got the free upgrade for my PS4 disc version. Same goes for some other games I waited to finally play on PS5 eventually when I can use the free upgrade. And now the wait is over and I could finally swing back into New York. People who follow this channel for a while, so probably one person, if at all, will know that I did play some Spider-Man games in my time and mostly enjoyed them quite a bit. And just so you know, I really liked the first Spider-Man game by Insomniac. Yeah, it was a bit too easy, but the story was very well presented. The gameplay was a lot of fun, the game didn't overwhelm you and offered you just the right amount of content, looking at it in hindsight. Back then I thought it would probably be too short, but I think they really hit the sweet spot there. Miles Morales offers less content but is also cheaper, so maybe it can still be an enjoyable experience. Let's just jump into it. Peter Parker and Miles Morales have both learned about their superpowers and are now often working together as a team, with Peter mentoring Miles. After a confrontation with Rhino, Miles is uncertain about his abilities and if he is able to protect the community, but Pete trusts him enough to let him watch over New York, while he and MJ are far from home. See what I did there? Miles is not completely alone though. Pete has set up some training exercises to keep him learning new abilities and moves. And of course there are his friends. Genki, Finn, his mother, and the friendly neighborhood of Harlem. It kind of feels like you are just thrown into the third season of a series and have to figure things out. But that's actually not that bad, I would say. The relations are mostly set up well enough and we can fill out the blanks with what we learn about these characters. It is a familiar story after all, I mean it is the regular superhero story. But it is just presented very well. And they don't need to introduce everything to us, as we already know it. A lot of these characters are not that fleshed out though. I really like the relationship between Finn and Miles, especially when you find all the collectibles, which are time capsules the two have hidden and which remind Miles of the past and their friendship. Some of these stories are also pretty sweet.
We gave copies of our keys to each other so we could hang out more. Ended up just hiding messages in each other's rooms.
And that's something I really like with both Spider-Man games and Ghost of Tsushima. The side activities are not just busy work. They have a meaning and work towards the story and the world, which is pretty cool. They take the open world gameplay of Assassin's Creed or Ubisoft games in general nowadays and give these mechanics meaning. These are not just experience points you collect. As we are talking about mechanics, let's talk about the gameplay in general for a bit. Whoever played the Spider-Man game in his life will feel at home right away with Miles Morales. You swing around New York, look for side missions and activities or follow the main story. You swing, web zip and free run through New York in general to get along. But you can also use the subway from relatively early on to just quick travel everywhere. The side activities involve the Underground, a organization which is trying to take over New York's criminal underworld and fights Roxxon. An evil corporation led by Simon Krieger, who is an Elon Musk-like corporate villain, who is pretty annoying and cringy, and you unfortunately don't punch him. Both organizations have bases and hidden tech that can be cleared. There are also side missions, Pete's challenges, time capsules to collect, requests on the Spider-Man app to complete, and you later can also find postcards. All of these activities are alright and easy to complete, which gives you a good feeling of achieving something. Most of the game is swinging and fighting. The swinging works pretty well, but I think it worked even better in the previous game. Fights are pretty easy for the most part. Miles can basically everything that Peter can, but also some special things that switch things up. But I don't know, I also think here that the previous one did it a little bit better. But as I'm talking about the special things that Miles can do, he can do something called Venom Punches, which are electrified hits that are stronger than his normal punches, and these also evolve as you progress through the story, and they get stronger and more devastating, hitting several enemies. Miles can also turn invisible, and you can use stealth, which is also fun and something I like quite a bit. You have also several benchmarks you have to hit, which motivate you to switch things up to achieve certain benchmarks. This is pretty fun and enjoyable, but mostly not very challenging. Only the traversal challenges can be infuriating, at least when you want that sweet gold medal, as I always want. And achieving these gold medals can bring you to the brink of breaking your controller. The story overall is good, but not amazing. I did like parts of it a lot. It does feel quite a bit like the MCU movies, but it feels like a very good one. Basically like the Spider-Man MCU movies. Unfortunately, they follow the same structure too much at certain points, I would say, and also have that stupid thing that they kill one important character to have a sad moment. But I think, as always with that, they have wasted a pretty good character and possible future storylines between Miles and that character. But it's also well presented and such an enjoyable experience that I guess I can look over it. It is a pity though. The whole experience is also pretty polished. I encountered only a handful of issues. These few issues stand out pretty much in the overall experience that is so polished. But it is an overall pretty good game. I just think once again the previous game was even more polished. Miles Morales doesn't quite reach the heights of its predecessor, but it comes very close. What should be just filler ended up being a pretty good story and game, which I might revisit someday again, probably around Christmas, as the game also takes place at that time and is short enough to play through during December. You can also carry a cat in your backpack. Great. Spectacular. And with that said, Spider-Man Miles Morales will get 9 out of 10 cats in the backpack. So this ends this year's Christmas Carnage. Sure, this last one was rather tame compared to what came before, but as I said, it will be a mix of action and horror this year. And this has definitely some action in it. And I have already some ideas for next year's Christmas Carnage anyways. Have a nice Christmas, or I hope you had a great Christmas depending on when you watch this, or just great holidays in general. See you in the next one.
Oh yeah? What's that? Spider-Man! Ah! Did you have an adventure? Oh, you almost gave Daddy a heart attack. Oh, yes you did. Oh, yes you did.